The sunlight cut through the tall windows, like an interrogation beam, cold, white, unforgiving. It flooded the dining room with clarity. Polished marble, crystal glasses in perfect rows, silverware aligned with surgical precision. This was the kind of place where silence had a price. Claire stood near the service station, shoulders straight, hands folded at her waist. Her apron was crisp, her expression unreadable. She had learned long ago that invisibility wasn't optional in places like this. It was required. At table 7, Andrew sat alone. He didn't look up when she approached. His attention stayed on his phone, thumb scrolling, again and again, not reading, just moving. The habit of someone who'd stopped engaging hours ago. Claire stopped at the edge of the table. She waited. 5 seconds. 10. He still didn't acknowledge her presence. "Good afternoon," she said quietly. "Can I start you with something to drink?" Andrew's thumb paused mid-scroll. He didn't lift his eyes. "Sparkling water," he said. "San Pellegrino. Room temperature. No ice. No lemon. And no glass with fingerprints." His tone wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. Claire didn't move. "Of course. And when you bring it," he added, finally glancing up, briefly, dismissively, "make sure the bottle is unopened." "I'll open it myself." His eyes dropped back to the screen before she could respond. She nodded once, turned, and walked toward the bar. Behind her, she heard it. A faint tap. Fingernail against marble. Impatient. Rhythmic. A small sound. One that somehow filled the entire room. At the bar, she reached for the bottle. Her hands were steady, but something tightened in her chest. Something she refused to let reach her face. She knew men like him. She'd been raised by one. When she returned, the bottle rested perfectly on a small silver tray. Andrew was leaning back in his chair now, watching her. Not casually. Evaluating. She set the tray down with practiced precision. The bottle didn't make a sound. "Your San Pellegrino," she said evenly. Andrew picked it up, examined the seal, twisted it open himself. He poured a small amount into the glass, lifted it to the light, inspected it, as if searching for something invisible. Then he set it down, untouched. "You're new here," he said. It wasn't a question. Claire met his gaze. "I've been here 3 months. "Interesting." He tilted his head slightly, studying her face, like someone examining an unfamiliar painting. "You don't look like you belong here." The words hung between them. She didn't flinch, didn't smile, didn't ask what he meant. "Are you ready to order?" she asked instead. Andrew's mouth curved. Not a smile. Something colder. "Not yet." He picked up the menu. Didn't open it. Just held it. Fingers drumming lightly against the leather cover. "Tell me something," he said now. Casual. Almost friendly. "Do you enjoy this? Serving people?" Claire's expression didn't change, but something flickered behind her eyes. Brief. Controlled. "It's work," she said. Andrew nodded slowly, as if she'd just confirmed something he already believed. "That's what I thought." He flipped through the menu, not reading. The silence stretched. Claire remained standing, posture perfect, hands at her sides. "You can go," Andrew said without looking up. "I'll call you when I'm ready." She didn't move immediately. For just one heartbeat, she stayed exactly where she was, looking down at him, at the top of his head. the expensive watch on his wrist, the way his fingers gripped the menu, like it owed him something. Then she turned and walked away. Near the kitchen doors, she stopped. Her hand touched the wall, just for a second. Then she straightened, smoothed her apron, exhaled slowly through her nose. Behind her, Andrew lifted his glass. He still didn't drink. She had no idea how much he was about to regret that conversation. 15 minutes passed. Claire moved between tables with quiet efficiency, refilling water, clearing plates, answering questions with a politeness that revealed nothing. She could feel Andrew's eyes on her. Not constantly, just enough. A reminder. When she returned to his table, he was leaning forward, elbows on the white tablecloth, hands clasped, like someone about to deliver a verdict. "I'll have the seared tuna," he said before she could speak. "Rare. Not medium rare. Rare. If there's any gray in the center," he added, "send it back before it ever reaches the table." Claire wrote it down. "Understood. And tell the chef," he continued, "I'm aware of the preparation time. If this takes longer than 12 minutes, I'll assume there's a problem with the kitchen." She paused, pen hovering. "The tuna usually takes 14 to 16 minutes, she said carefully. "I can ask them to prioritize." I didn't ask for an explanation. His voice stayed level, controlled. "I told you what I expect." Their eyes met. Silence. Then Claire nodded once. "I'll make sure they know." She turned to leave. "Wait." She stopped, turned back. Andrew studied her again. That same clinical assessment. "What's your name?" "Claire." He repeated it slowly, testing it. "Claire." A pause. "Is that short for something?" "No. MM." He leaned back, fingers drumming against the armrest. "Simple," he said. "I suppose that fits." Claire didn't respond. "Do you have a last name, Claire?" His tone shifted. Almost conversational. Almost kind. Something tightened in her chest. "Everyone has a last name," she said quietly. "True." Andrew smiled. Not warmly. But not everyone wants to share it. A beat. "Interesting." He waved his hand. "Go." 12 minutes. Claire walked toward the kitchen. Each step measured. Deliberate. Her spine tense. Jaw tight. She pushed through the double doors. Inside, the kitchen roared. Flames. Metal. Voices calling orders in sharp bursts. Marcus, the head chef, looked up. "Table 7, she said, handing him the ticket. "Seared tuna. Rare. And he wants it in 12 minutes. Marcus glanced at the order. Then at her. 12. "That's not." "I know," Claire said. "He knows too. He just doesn't care." Marcus exhaled through his nose. "These people. Can you do it?" He studied her, then nodded. "Yeah. I'll do it. Thank you." She turned to leave. "Claire." She stopped. "You okay?" Marcus asked. Softer now. She didn't answer right away. Her hand rested against the doorframe. "I'm fine," she said. They both knew it wasn't entirely true. Back in the dining room, Andrew was on his phone. Low voice. Clipped phrases. Authority, without effort. He ended the call as she passed. "Claire." She stopped. "Another water," he said, not looking up. "This one's warm." She glanced at the bottle. It hadn't been there long. Of course. When she returned, Andrew was watching the entrance. A woman had just walked in, elegant, poised, diamonds catching the light. She smiled when she saw him. Andrew stood, kissed her cheek, pulled out her chair. "Darling," the woman said. "Sorry I'm late." The gallery opening ran long. "It's fine," Andrew replied. "Warmer now. Softer. You're here." The woman glanced at Claire. "Chardonnay," she said. "Something crisp." "Of course." As Claire turned away, Andrew spoke again. Quieter, but audible. "The service here is adequate. You just have to be very specific." The woman laughed lightly. "Oh, Andrew, you're impossible." Claire's grip tightened on her notepad. She didn't look back. But something in her expression had shifted. Something subtle. Something that wouldn't go away. And Andrew still hadn't noticed. The Chardonnay arrived in a crystal glass. Chilled. Perfect. Claire set it down with the same quiet precision she brought to everything. "Thank you," the woman said. Her smile was genuine. "You're welcome," Claire replied. "Your meals will be ready shortly." She began to step away. "Actually," Andrew's voice cut through the space, "I need to change my order." Claire stopped, turned back. "Instead of the tuna," he said, "I'll have the ribeye, medium. And make sure they use the compound butter, not the herb oil." Claire reached for her notepad. "Of course," she said. "That will add approximately 10 minutes to your wait time." "That's fine." He didn't look at her. His hand reached across the table, covering the woman's fingers. "We're not in a rush." Claire wrote it down. "And Claire." She looked up. He was watching her now. "When you put that order in," he said, "be very clear about the temperature. Medium means pink. Warm, not hot. Some kitchens," he added calmly, "don't understand the difference." The woman shifted in her chair. "Andrew, I'm sure she knows. I'm just being thorough, darling." His smile was pleasant, reasonable. Clear communication prevents mistakes. Claire's pen stilled. "I'll make sure they understand," she said evenly. She turned and walked away. The weight of his correction settled over her shoulders. Heavy, unwanted. Behind her, the woman's voice dropped. "You don't have to do that." "Do what?" Andrew asked, genuinely confused. "Talk to her like she's incompetent." A pause. Then Andrew laughed. Light. Dismissive. "I wasn't talking to her like anything," he said. "I was being specific. There's a difference." Claire pushed through the kitchen doors. Marcus looked up from the grill. "The tuna's almost." "Cancel it," Claire said. He changed his mind. "Ribeye. Medium. Compound butter." Marcus stared at her. "You're kidding." "I wish I was." He shook his head, pulling the tuna from the heat. Perfectly seared. Rare. Exactly as ordered. "These people," he muttered. "They have no idea." "No," Claire said quietly. "They really don't." She watched the tuna being set aside. "Wasted. You want me to send it out to staff?" Marcus asked. "Yes," she said. "Someone should enjoy it." Back in the dining room, Andrew was leaning forward now. Animated. Engaged. The woman laughed at something he said, fingers tracing the stem of her glass. They looked perfect together. Polished. Effortless. Like they belonged on a magazine cover. Claire approached. Your ribeye will be ready in approximately 15 minutes. Andrew barely glanced at her. Fine. She nodded, turned to leave. Oh, and Claire. She stopped, didn't turn around. Make sure there's no delay this time, he said casually. Consistency matters in places like this. Something settled in her chest. Not anger. Something colder. More deliberate. Of course, she replied. At the service station, she stood still, hands resting on the polished counter. Silverware aligned in perfect symmetry. Her father used to talk about men like Andrew. Men who measured their worth by control, by precision, by how perfectly the world obeyed them. They build their whole identity on never being questioned. He'd said once, so when someone finally does. He never finished the sentence. She'd always wondered why. Across the room, Andrew's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, stood abruptly. Excuse me, darling. I need to take this. He walked toward the windows, voice dropping. That same authoritative register. The woman sat alone now, swirling her wine. Claire approached with the water pitcher. May I? The woman looked up, surprised. Oh, yes. Thank you. As Claire poured, the woman studied her. I'm sorry about him, she said softly. He's not always like this. He's just had a stressful week. Claire's hand stayed steady. It's not a problem. Still, the woman said. You're very patient. I've had practice. Something in her tone made the woman pause. Have we met before? She asked. You look familiar. Claire met her eyes. I don't think so. The woman studied her a moment longer, then smiled politely. Sorry. I must be imagining things. It happens, Claire said. Andrew returned to the table then, relaxed, satisfied. Whatever that call was, it had gone well. Where were we? He asked. You were telling me about the merger, the woman said. Ah. Andrew smiled. That's right. So this morning, I had Carter in my office. Claire stepped back, invisible again. But as she walked away, she glanced back. Just once. Andrew was laughing, completely absorbed in himself. He had no idea she'd been watching, and no idea what she was starting to see. The ribeye arrived exactly on time. Claire set the plate down with careful precision. The steak angled perfectly, steam rising, the compound butter already melting into golden pools. Andrew didn't say thank you. He picked up his knife and fork, cut into the center, examined the pink interior with the focus of a jeweler inspecting a diamond. Acceptable, he said. Across from him, the woman received her sea base. She smiled at Claire. This looks wonderful. Thank you. You're welcome, Claire replied. She took 2 steps away. Claire. She stopped, turned back. Andrew was chewing slowly now, thoughtful, calculating. This is good, he said, gesturing with his fork. But next time, tell them to sear it 30 seconds longer on each side. The crust could be deeper. Claire absorbed the comment. I'll make note of that. Do you write these things down? Andrew asked, leaning back. Customer preferences? When it's relevant, she said. Good. He sipped his water. Attention to detail separates adequate service from exceptional service. I'm sure you've heard that before. The woman set her fork down. Andrew. What? He looked at her, genuinely puzzled. I'm giving constructive feedback. That's how people improve. She doesn't need to improve, the woman said quietly. She's doing everything perfectly. Andrew smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. There's always room for improvement, he replied. In any profession. Claire stood still, hands folded at her waist. Will there be anything else right now? She asked. No, Andrew said. That'll be all. She walked away. Behind her, the woman's voice lowered. Why do you do that? Do what? You know what. Silverware touched porcelain. I treat service staff with respect, Andrew said calmly. I'm polite. I don't raise my voice. I simply communicate clearly. You talk down to them. I have standards, he replied. Final. Immovable. If that makes people uncomfortable, that's their issue to resolve. The woman said nothing. At the service station, Claire breathed slowly through her nose, hands resting on the counter. Steady. But something inside her shifted. A memory surfaced. Her father's office. Late afternoon light. His voice. Measured. Kind. The men who need to prove they're superior in every interaction. They're not strong, Claire. They're terrified. Because deep down, they know how fragile their world really is. She'd been 16 when he said that. She'd thought she understood. Now, watching Andrew cut his steak with surgical precision, she realized she'd only understood the surface. Marcus appeared beside her. Table 7, giving you trouble? Nothing I can't handle. That guy's been here before, Marcus said. Always the same. Always correcting something. You remember him? Hard to forget. He sent back a dish 3 times once. Not because anything was wrong. Just because he could. Some people need to feel powerful. Yes, Claire said softly. Some people do. She looked back across the room. Andrew was talking again. Hands moving. Voice filling the space. The woman listened. Nodded once. But her smile had faded. Her posture had closed. Claire watched the shift happen. Slow. Predictable. She'd seen it her entire life. 10 minutes later, she returned to clear the plates. How was everything? She asked. Excellent, the woman said quickly. Andrew set down his napkin. The steak was better than expected, he said. Still could use that deeper crust. But overall, competent. Claire collected the plates. We'll have dessert, Andrew continued. What do you recommend? It was the first time he'd asked her opinion. Claire met his eyes. The chocolate torte is popular, she said. The lemon tart is lighter. Which one do you think is better? Andrew asked. The question lingered. A test. Claire considered. I think it depends on what you're trying to taste, she said. The torte is about intensity. The tart is about balance. Andrew's eyebrows lifted slightly. Interesting. We'll have the torte, the woman said. To share. Good choice, Claire replied. As she walked away, she felt his eyes on her again. But this time, it wasn't dismissive. It was curious. And somehow, that felt more dangerous. In the kitchen, she leaned against the counter. Closed her eyes for a moment. Marcus glanced over. You okay? Yes, she said. Just tired. But that wasn't true. She wasn't tired. She was preparing. Because something told her. This conversation wasn't over yet. The chocolate torte arrived on a white porcelain plate. A thin ribbon of raspberry coulis curved along the edge. 2 forks. 2 napkins, folded with precision. Claire set the plate between them. No words. "Thank you," the woman said. Andrew picked up his fork, studied the dessert. "This looks almost too perfect to eat." "Almost," the woman replied. They ate in silence. Claire began to step away. "Claire." She stopped, turned. Andrew was watching her again, the same evaluative gaze. But now, something else beneath it. "How long have you been doing this?" he asked. "Waiting tables." The woman's fork froze mid-air. "A few years," Claire said. "Before this restaurant? Different places. Different cities. And before that? Did you go to college?" The question settled heavily between them. "Andrew," the woman said quietly, "that's personal." "It's just conversation," he replied smoothly. "I'm curious." "There's nothing wrong with curiosity." Claire felt something tighten in her throat. Not fear. Not anger. Something colder. "I did," she said. "Where?" A pause. Just a heartbeat. "East Coast." Andrew's eyes narrowed. "That's vague." "It was a long time ago. And now you're here," he said, gesturing around the room. "Serving steaks to people like me." The woman inhaled sharply. "Andrew." "I'm not being cruel," he said calmly. "I'm being realistic. There's no shame in service work. I'm just wondering why someone who went to college ended up." He let the silence finish the sentence. Claire's hands remained folded, but something flickered behind her eyes. "Life doesn't always go the way we plan," she said. "True," Andrew nodded, taking another bite. "But most people have reasons. Specific reasons. Debt. Bad decisions. Family problems." He paused. "Which one was it for you?" The woman stood abruptly. "Excuse me," she said. "I need to use the restroom." Her heels echoed sharply as she walked away. Andrew watched her go. Then he looked back at Claire. Now they were alone. The air felt heavier. "She's sensitive," Andrew said quietly. "She doesn't like it when I'm direct." "But honesty," he continued, "however uncomfortable, is usually kinder in the long run." Claire didn't answer. "You don't agree?" "I didn't say that." "You didn't have to," he said. "You don't fill silence. Most people do. Would you like me to fill it?" Claire asked. "I'd like you to answer the question." "Which one?" "Why you're here. Doing this." Claire looked at him. Really looked. The watch. The tailored shirt. The confidence resting easily on his shoulders. "Because everyone has to be somewhere," she said. Andrew smiled. "That's not an answer. It's the only one I'm giving." Something shifted. Surprise. "Fair enough," he said slowly. Silence stretched. Then Andrew leaned back. "Can I ask you something else?" "You're going to anyway." His smile widened slightly. "You're right. I am. Do you know who I am?" Claire's pulse quickened. Her face did not. "Should I?" Andrew laughed. Short. Sharp. "Most people do. In this city." "I'm not from this city." "Where are you from?" Another test. Different places. Andrew's eyes narrowed. "You're very good at not answering questions." "You're very good," Claire replied calmly, "at asking ones that aren't your business." The words landed. Hard. Andrew froze. 3 seconds passed. Then he leaned forward. "Excuse me." His voice was soft. Dangerously soft. "I said," Claire repeated, "that some questions aren't your business." His jaw tightened. hands flattening on the table. "Do you know how much I've spent in this restaurant?" he asked. "No. Enough that when I ask a question, I expect an answer." "Money," Claire said evenly, "doesn't entitle you to my personal history." The color drained from his face, then rushed back. He opened his mouth. "Is everything all right?" The woman stood nearby now. Andrew's expression smoothed instantly. "Everything's fine," he said warmly. "We're just talking." The woman looked at Claire. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine," Claire said. But none of them believed it. The air still vibrated with everything unsaid, and Andrew was looking at her now, as if he'd just realized she wasn't what he thought she was. The woman slid back into her seat, her eyes uncertain, moving between Andrew and Claire, as if she were trying to read a language she didn't speak. Andrew picked up his fork again, precise, controlled, but Claire noticed his knuckles, white around the handle. "We'll take the check," he said without looking at her. "Of course." Claire's voice was steady, professional. "I'll bring it right away." She turned toward the service station. She felt his stare pressing into her back. Her hands didn't shake as she printed the bill. They never did. But something was building in her chest. Recognition. Inevitability. Like a door she'd been standing in front of her entire life, was finally beginning to open. When she returned, Andrew already had his wallet out. The woman stared down at her hands, picking at the edge of her napkin. Claire set the leather portfolio on the table. Andrew opened it, glanced at the total, slid his card inside. Men like him never checked. "I'll be right back," Claire said. "Wait." She stopped. Andrew looked up at her now. The anger from before had been carefully packed away. What replaced it looked almost like curiosity, almost like respect. "I want to apologize," he said. The woman's head snapped up. Claire said nothing. Andrew paused, choosing his words. "I was intrusive. You were right. Your personal life is none of my business." A small smile. "I have a habit of treating conversations like negotiations. It's a professional flaw." The apology sounded practiced, smooth, but beneath it was something else. A man trying to regain control after losing it. "I appreciate that," Claire said quietly. Andrew nodded, satisfied. "Good. Then we can part on better terms." He extended his hand. Claire looked at it. The open palm, the expensive watch. The woman held her breath. Claire shook his hand once. Firm, brief. His grip was deliberate. A handshake meant to communicate power. When she pulled away, Andrew smiled. "You're very professional," he said. "This restaurant is lucky to have you." "Thank you." She took the card and walked to the register. Behind her, the woman whispered, "What was that about?" "Nothing," Andrew replied, dismissive. "Just a misunderstanding. It didn't look like nothing. Drop it. It's handled." Claire ran the card, printed the receipt, returned. The woman stood, gathering her purse, uncomfortable. Andrew signed the receipt. 20%. Exact. Not generous. Not cruel. Controlled. He buttoned his jacket. "Thank you for the meal," he said. Cordial. As if none of it had happened. "You're welcome," Claire replied. "Have a good afternoon." The woman smiled faintly. They walked toward the exit. Andrew's hand rested lightly on the woman's back, guiding her. Claire watched them go. At the door, Andrew stopped, turned. Their eyes met. He studied her, trying to solve something. Then he nodded once, and walked into the sunlight. The door closed. Soft. Final. Claire stood there, receipt in hand, pulse steady, thoughts racing. Marcus appeared beside her. What the hell was that? He tried to figure me out, Claire said. And he couldn't. Marcus frowned. So, she said quietly. Men like him don't like mysteries. They don't like people they can't categorize. He'll come back. How do you know? Because I know men like him. They always come back. You want me to ban him? No. Immediate. Don't. Why not? Claire looked at the empty table, the half-finished tort, the water glass, still marked with his fingerprints. Because this isn't over. Marcus hesitated, then nodded. Okay. But if he crosses a line, I'll handle it. She went back to work. Same efficiency, different intention. At the service station, she checked her phone, scrolled to a name she hadn't touched in months. Her thumb hovered. Then she put the phone away. Not yet. Across the city, Andrew sat in the back of his car. The woman beside him was silent, arms crossed. You're angry, Andrew said. I'm disappointed. I apologized. You performed an apology. There's a difference. Andrew clenched his jaw. The car stopped at a red light. His thoughts drifted back to the restaurant, to Claire, to the way she'd said, "Money doesn't entitle you to my personal history." No one had spoken to him like that in years. He should have been angry. He was. But beneath the anger was something worse. Curiosity. And Andrew had never been good at leaving questions unanswered. Three days passed. Claire worked her shifts the way she always did. Measured. Precise. Tables turned. Orders flowed. Customers came and went. A steady rhythm of requests, small talk, polite smiles, that never quite reached her eyes. She didn't think about Andrew. That wasn't true. She thought about him constantly. It was Thursday afternoon when he returned. Claire was refilling water near the window when she saw him walk in, alone. No elegant woman on his arm this time. Just Andrew. A different suit. Charcoal gray. Perfectly tailored. Scanning the room with that same evaluative gaze. Their eyes met. He didn't look surprised. If anything, he looked satisfied. Like he'd been expecting this. The host moved toward him. Andrew waved him off and walked straight into Claire's section. Table 7. Again. Something sharpened in her chest. Not fear. Alertness. She finished pouring water, set the pitcher down, and walked over. "Good afternoon," she said. "Back so soon." "The food was good," Andrew replied. "I thought I'd give it another try." They both knew that wasn't why. "Can I start you with something to drink?" Sparkling water. San Pellegrino. A pause. "You remember how I take it. Room temperature. No ice. Unopened. Good memory." Claire didn't smile. "I'll be right back." When she returned, Andrew was leaning back, fingers steepled beneath his chin, watching her, like a painting he was trying to authenticate. She set the bottle down. He opened it himself, poured a small amount. This time, he drank. "I wanted to apologize again," he said. You already did. I know. But I've been thinking about what you said. About how I spoke to you. A pause. I was condescending. You called me on it. Most people don't. Maybe they should, Claire said quietly. Andrew smiled. Genuine. Maybe they should. He gestured to the chair across from him. Do you have a minute? To talk. I'm working. I know. The room's quiet. And I'd really like to. He searched for the word. Understand you. Why? Because you're interesting, Andrew said. You don't perform. You don't flatter. You just are. He leaned forward slightly. That's rare. Claire hesitated. Every instinct told her to walk away. But another part of her, the part that had been preparing for this, told her to stay. 1 minute, she said. She sat. Andrew's eyebrows lifted. He hadn't expected that. Thank you. They sat in silence. Soft music. Distant conversations. Silverware against porcelain. I looked you up, Andrew said. Claire went still. What? After I left. I tried to find you. Claire. No last name. A few restaurants on the East Coast. That's all. He tilted his head. In a world where everyone leaves traces. You barely exist. Maybe I value privacy. Maybe. Or maybe you're hiding something. The words hung. Everyone hides something, Claire said. True, Andrew nodded. But most people hide things that don't matter. Small failures. Embarrassments. You're hiding something that does matter. I can feel it. You don't know anything about me. I know you're educated. I know you speak like someone who grew up with money. I know you move like you belong in rooms like this. Not serving in them, but owning them. His voice was calm, precise. And when I tried to diminish you, he continued, you pushed back. People who've actually struggled can't afford to do that. You're making assumptions. Am I? His smile turned cold. Then tell me I'm wrong. Tell me this. He gestured around the room. Is where you actually belong. Claire met his gaze. Held it. Where I belong, she said quietly, is none of your concern. Andrew laughed. Surprised. Delighted. There it is again, he said. That steal. Who are you, Claire? She stood. Someone you're never going to figure out. She turned to leave. Your father was someone important, wasn't he? The words stopped her. She froze. Andrew's voice softened. I can see it in you. You were raised by someone who understood power. A pause. What happened to him? Claire turned slowly. Her face pale. Controlled. Are you ready to order? Andrew studied her. Then picked up the menu. Ribeye, he said quietly. Medium. Compound butter. Of course. She walked away. Measured. Deliberate. Her heart hammering. In the kitchen, she leaned against the cold metal door. Breathed slowly. Marcus appeared. Claire. She shook her head. Is it that guy again? He's guessing, she said finally. He doesn't know anything. Guessing about what? She looked at Marcus. Really looked. For the first time, she said. About who I used to be. She straightened. Smoothed her apron. Table 7. Ribeye. Medium. Compound butter. Her voice was steady again. But inside, something had cracked. And Andrew had heard it break. The ribeye sat in front of Andrew, perfectly cooked, untouched. Steam rose in thin wisps. 3 tables away, Claire pretended to adjust silverware that didn't need adjusting. She felt his eyes on her, patient, waiting. Finally, she approached. "Is everything all right with your meal?" Andrew looked up. The clinical curiosity was gone. What remained looked like regret. "Sit down," he said quietly. "I can't. Please." The words sounded unfamiliar. Just for a moment. Against every instinct, Claire pulled out the chair and sat. Andrew pushed the plate aside, folded his hands. "I need you to listen," he said. Claire said nothing. 12 years ago, I made a deal that destroyed someone's life. A business acquisition. Completely legal. Completely ruthless. A man lost everything. His company. His reputation. His ability to provide for his family. He didn't deserve it. He was just in my way. Claire's breathing grew shallow. I told myself it was just business. That he would recover. He didn't. And I moved on. I built my empire on top of his ruins. Silence. "Why are you telling me this?" Claire asked. "Because I've spent days trying to understand the way you look at me," Andrew said. "Not with fear. Not with admiration. But recognition. As if you've seen men like me before." Claire pressed her hands flat on the table. "And I keep thinking about what you said," he continued. "About fathers. About men who understand power." His voice faltered. "And I'm wondering if I destroyed yours." The words struck hard. "What was his name?" Andrew asked. Claire opened her mouth, closed it. "Claire," he said, "what was your father's name?" "Why?" The word broke. "Because I need to know if I did this to you," Andrew said. "If I'm the reason you're here. Living a life you were never meant to live." Claire stood abruptly. The chair scraped loudly. Heads turned. She didn't care. "You don't get to do this," she said, shaking. "You don't get to confess and ask me to absolve you." "I'm not asking for absolution," Andrew said. "I'm asking for the truth." "The truth." Claire laughed, sharp and bitter. "The truth is that men like you destroy lives and call it business. You don't remember the people you crush. They're just obstacles." "Then tell me," Andrew said, standing. "Tell me your name. So I can know." Claire met his eyes. "My name," she said quietly, "is Claire Hartwell." The name detonated. Andrew went white. "Hartwell," he whispered. "James Hartwell." Claire nodded once. "He was my father." Andrew staggered back, gripping the table. "I didn't know," he said. "I didn't know he had a daughter." "Why would you?" Claire replied coldly. "I was 19. A footnote." "He died," she said, 2 years after you took everything from him. They called it a heart attack. I call it pressure, loss, erasure. I'm sorry. Don't. Final. Not now. Not ever." She turned to leave. "Please." She stopped once more. "You asked why I'm here," Claire said. "Here's the truth. I rebuilt my life from nothing. No inheritance. No protection. I survived. And I'm still standing." She removed her apron, folded it carefully, placed it on the table. "And I wanted you to know exactly who I was, before I decide what comes next." Andrew's voice barely carried. "What are you going to do?" Claire smiled. It didn't reach her eyes. "I haven't decided yet." She walked away. Andrew stood alone at table 7. Untouched food. Shattered certainty. He sank into his chair. And for the first time in his life, Andrew understood what it meant to be powerless. Claire pushed through the kitchen doors and didn't slow down. Past Marcus calling her name. Past the cooks who stopped to stare. Past the endless clatter of dishes and running water. She grabbed her bag and left. Outside, the afternoon light felt wrong. Too bright. Too clean. The world looked exactly the same. After something inside her had shifted forever. She stood on the sidewalk, breathing. Just breathing. Letting the adrenaline drain from her body. Her phone vibrated. Unknown number. She stared at the screen. Then answered. "Hello, Claire." Andrew's voice was rough. Unsteady. "Please, don't hang up." She should have. But she didn't. "I'm listening." "Where are you?" "That's not your concern." A pause. "I know I don't deserve anything from you," he said. "I know that. But I need to see you. Not at the restaurant. Somewhere private." "There's nothing to talk about." "There's everything to talk about," he replied. "I destroyed your father. I destroyed your life. And I didn't even know your name until today. That's unforgivable. I know it is. Please. Let me try to make this right." Claire let out a quiet laugh. Bitter. "You think money fixes this?" "No," Andrew said quickly. "I don't. But it's all I have to offer. I don't want your money." "Then what do you want?" The question hung between them. Claire closed her eyes. Felt the warmth of the sun on her face. "I want you to remember," she said softly. "Every day. For the rest of your life. I want you to remember James Hartwell. That he wasn't just a company. He was a father. A man who built something with his own hands." Andrew's breathing grew uneven. "I will," he said. "I swear. And I want you to change." Silence. "I want you to look at every deal you make and ask yourself, who pays the price? Someone's father. Someone's daughter. I want you to be better than the man who destroyed mine." "I don't know if I can." "Then you're exactly who I thought you were," Claire said. "And this conversation is over." She ended the call. For a long moment, she stood there, watching cars pass, people walk, life continue as if nothing had happened. Then she opened her contacts. A number she had saved months ago. Attorney, estate law. The call connected. "My name is Claire Hartwell," she said. "I want to discuss my father's estate. And the acquisition that led to its collapse." A pause. "And what outcome are you seeking, Ms. Hartwell?" Claire looked back at the restaurant. Through the window, she could see Andrew still at table 7, head in his hands. "Justice," she said. "Not revenge." The appointment was scheduled. She slipped the phone back into her bag. Marcus stepped outside. "Are you okay?" "I will be." "What just happened in there?" "Something that's been 12 years in the making." She met his eyes. "That man destroyed my father's life. And today, he learned who I am. What are you going to do?" Claire smiled. Small. Certain. "I'm going to make sure it never happens again." She walked away. 3 blocks later, she sat on a park bench. Opened her phone. One photo. Her father. Standing in his office. Smiling. "I didn't forget," she whispered. "I never did." She closed her eyes. The weight lifted. The hardest part was over. The rest was just work. And Claire Hartwell had always been very good with details. 3 weeks later, Andrew announced the creation of the James Hartwell Foundation. It provided legal and financial support to families destroyed by corporate acquisitions. The first beneficiary was a woman whose father had lost everything. The second was a small family business dismantled in a hostile takeover. Claire served on the advisory board, not because she had forgiven Andrew, but because her father had taught her that justice wasn't about punishment. It was about making sure the broken pieces built something better. And in the end, that was the only outcome that mattered. If this story moved you, don't keep it to yourself. Hit the subscribe button right now, because stories about justice, redemption, and the power of knowing your worth, that's what we bring you here, every single week. Leave a like if Claire's strength inspired you. If you've ever felt invisible, underestimated, or overlooked, and still found the courage to stand tall, turn on the notification bell, so you never miss the next story. Because we're just getting started. And leave a comment below. Tell me, what would you have done in Claire's position? Would you have walked away, sought revenge, or chosen the path she chose? Your thoughts matter. Your voice matters. This community is built on people like you. People who believe every story deserves to be heard, and every injustice deserves an answer. So don't just watch. Engage. Subscribe. Be part of something bigger. Because the next story we tell might be even more powerful than this one. See you in the next story.